Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Thankful Thursday, April 17th, and welcome to another episode of Style by Stevie. Our very special guest is a multi-award winning composer, arranger, playwright, and producer, and I'm super honored and excited to have him here in the dollhouse with me. Please join me as we give a warm welcome to our handsome, amazing, talented, very special guest, ladies and gentlemen, Germano Toussaint. Let me go ahead and share this live with him so that we can get him in here. I hope you guys are all doing. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Just take a deep breath. I want you guys all to just relax for a few minutes and just come on in and just have a good time. And this is going to be your escape, your getaway for the day. I want you all to just breathe. So without further ado, let's welcome our very special guest, Fashion Dolls, the handsome, the incredibly talented, sexy, fine. He's all of that and then some. This man is a Renaissance man, Germano Toussaint. Mm, or hello,
Hey,
hello. Welcome to the Dollhouse. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for choosing me to be
Yes,
interviewed.
yes, 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 yes.
You look
Um,
great. The hair is hairing, the makeup is
Thank
makeuping.
you. Pretty in pink. I had to do it for you because it's the springtime. I was feeling like Barbie today. This dress is short, by the way.
Don't stand up. Oh,
So,
okay.
yes, I'm sitting perfectly, perfectly fine. So, before we kick off this interview, how has 2025 been for you so far?
Yeah, it's definitely happening uh, very intensely for me. Everything that I've been waiting for since the pandemic is now happening. So I feel like I had a huge delay, probably like 3 or 4 years, and now everything's just like falling into my lap at once. But it's good. I'm not gonna complain. I'm just gonna adjust because I'm definitely not going back to pre-pandemic or during the pandemic.
Yes, 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 yes. And Stuart says, "Hi, Germano."
Hey, Stuart. Stuart with
There we
Sean.
are. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So before we kick off this interview, I like to start at the journey from the beginning.
Hmm.
Tell us, how did you get your start into, because you are a multi-award winning composer, arranger, playwright, and producer, and B-Boy Blues, which is very pivotal, has won so many awards. It was like wildfire. It was a press run. And I've interviewed Samson McCormick, I want to say back in 2021. And that was one of the things that he was talking about and how important this play was to the queer community. So we'll get
Yeah,
into that. But not only this B-Boy Blues, but you've went on to do the Fire This Time Festival and so much more in your career.
yeah.
But I like to start at the beginning of the origin to know your story. Who is Germano Toussaint? And tell me if I pronounced your name wrong. Tell me how it's actually
No,
supposed to
you
be pronounced.
got it right. Surprisingly, I've been called many things, Geronimo, Geronimo. So yeah, I appreciate that. So who am I? I think I'm always discovering who that is, who that person is. And I think the older I get, the less I know, um, because you're unlearning things. But I don't know how far back you want me to go. Um, my family's very musical. Um, So I think some things were genetically passed down to me. My grandfather played piano and guitar and sang. Everybody in my family can sing. Like if you can't sing in my family, you're probably adopted. So like someone else's check. Everybody can sing, even if those that say they can't sing, they can also sing. Um, my cousin Donald Daniels wrote a lot of songs for Motown
Oh,
back in the day. So he was friends with the Jacksons and all of that. Um, my uncle Sonny, who I actually wrote a play about, was in the music business for a little bit, um, but you know, he switched careers. But I am the only one that decided to pursue music, to study music, to pursue it as a career, and like to stick with it. So I have my undergrad in music composition. I'm a self-taught playwright, but I've been producing since I got to New York. It's just I thought it was fun, you know, and I just became fans of several indie artists here in New York, and I thought, what better way to collaborate with them than to produce shows for them? So that's how I started. But yeah, I've done arranging for several musicals, plays like B-Boy Blues. Um, I've written some musicals of my own. Uh, I am getting into video a little bit more. I wrote my first screenplay a few last 2 years ago. So there's a lot, and I never think that I'm done. So there's always more to learn. There's always more to, you know, I can always reinvent myself. You know.
And isn't the beauty of reinvention as a creator, as someone who understands the arts, as someone who understands what it takes to create a masterpiece? Isn't the beauty of reinvention divine? Because you're always going back and thinking, okay, what can I do next? Like you just said, you want to do more
Hmm.
and manifest more in the chapter. Each person, and I shared this with Stephanie yesterday when we had our conversation, we were saying that the story will continue on because she wrote two books about her life and what she's been through. And I think a lot of us are each discovering every day that we have more in our story to tell. And a lot of people are still getting to know me, familiar with me, because when I reached out to Germano here, he was like, okay, who are you? Because I'm still unfamiliar to some people and still starting to get to know people more. People are starting to get to know more about me because I'm a mysterious woman. I don't reveal a whole lot about myself to people,
Yeah.
but through this platform, people learn about me. They ask me questions, okay, and they're curious. They want to know, and how does this go? And how does this go in this chapter? And how did you start? We all are still discovering about that, about ourselves. So for you, that was going to be another question that I wanted to ask you. What are some things that you want to include in your next chapter in your life?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that because this is the second half of my life, technically,
Mm.
um, unless I live to be 100. But this is very close to the second half of my life. And I think it was important for me to not hold on to the stories that I was telling about how things should have went. Because when I was younger, I thought I would be, you know, at the Grammys and when, rubbing elbows with Usher and well, whoever else, you know. When I was really young, I thought I would rub elbows with like Lionel Richie and Diana Ross, but um, that things change, things happen the way they happen. And I am so glad that I did not sort of blow up when I was younger because I would have destroyed myself and probably some other people.
Wow.
I was not mature enough. I was not balanced enough. I did not love myself enough. Yeah. So this stage of my life, I'm looking towards how to work smarter, not harder, how to collaborate more, um, how to be consistent and disciplined because I really, if someone had told me when I was younger, just be disciplined and consistent and so many other things will happen for you, um, that's, I rely on that so much more than money or anything else, just my own discipline and consistency. So yeah, I just want to put more out more consistently and collaborate more to expand my team, to expand what I can do, and expand my vision because I don't know everything. So I may have a big vision and I know what I want, and then someone who's as brilliant or more brilliant will come and add to that something that I haven't thought about. So that's what I think the next chapter of my life will be.
And it's more to come. You said, okay, when I was younger, I would have thought I would have saw myself at the Grammys, with Usher, Lionel Richie, Diana Ross. manifest it. You're already speaking it into an existence.
Yeah.
I like to create vision boards, and almost everything that I put onto that vision board, I try to check it off as it
Mm.
happens. And it's just like, okay, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. What is going to be next for me in life? And LaTroy, who was my guest Tuesday, he asked me that question. He said, what's next for you on the Apex? What are you going to do with this platform? Because taking off is such a success. People are tuned in, they're engaged every single day. I have built a audience base. They are coming back every single day to see every single interview. They go back, they sub to the channel, they will leave their 2 cents. If they can't get it in while they're at work on their phone, they will go back on their phones and they will type in those comments on the replay and they will enjoy everything, because we need that. We need people to have joy
That's
and a sense of joy and all of the dark. But
very
the
true.
power of manifestation, what does the power of manifestation mean to you?
It's a deep question. The power of manifestation, I think, has changed for me a bit. I think manifesting is aligning with like the vision that you have. And you know how I grew up in the church. So you know how people, they say, well, pray and ask for this and ask for that. But a lot of the older saints would speak things. They wouldn't ask. They would
Oh
say,
yeah.
this is going to happen. That is going to happen. And I think that authority to speak things into your life that you envision, that you dream about, is manifesting to me. Because it really is you taking control of your vision, but it's also you doing the things that will put you on a path to that happening. So, for instance, you can't just say, I'm going to be rich and famous and have absolutely no plan and not do anything and not save any money and not invest and not learn about finances, or learn about media or learn about whatever your craft is. Like, it's preparation and opportunity. That's
Yes, yes, yes. Plan ahead. And I tell people this all the time. If you have something that you want to work on to excel in your career or just your endeavors of what you want to do, write it down, plan ahead. Go start from plan A to plan B. And my mother, she's always instilled that into each and every one of us, because I have 4 brothers, 2 sisters, and everybody has their own personality and have career goals that they wanted to go after. Nobody said show business or hosting a platform. That was something that I've always knew I wanted to do. And my mother was just like, okay, make sure that you have something to fall back on. So I took up cosmetology, which is why I look so fly every day. The hair, makeup, everything. I have an input on how I want to look every day.
mm-hmm.
And being able to put that skill to use. So always have something to fall back
Yeah,
on. Our
yeah,
parents always tell us this. When you say show business and you tell your parents this, that was going to be another question I wanted to ask you. What were your parents' thoughts of you wanting to get into the business, even though music ran through your family? Another example of this will be Brandy. Brandy, I love Brandy. I'm a big Brandy fan.
yeah,
She went on Arsenio Hall. It was her and her mom. And Arsenio asked her about her daughter, Sarah, because her daughter, Sarah, does music as well, too. And he asked her, and Sonia Norwood, um, would you let your daughter get into the business? And she's like, oh no. Sonia wasn't having it. Miss Sonia put her foot down so fast. She was not having it. But look at her now. I
yeah.
don't know what changed. But when parents see the passion that you have for something that you love to do, whether it's music, whether it's playwright or production, they see that and it's just like, okay, I have no choice but to support my child's vision. So how was it for you getting into the business of playwright and producing, music production?
Yeah, so I was blessed to have a creative family, and I was definitely blessed to have a mom that was open because we were born, I was raised in the hood for the first few years of my life, at least, probably until I was 10. And, I told my grandmother is the reason that I was in piano, because when I was little, I was beating on the table, and she's like, put the child in piano, because her husband played piano. So I started at 4, I think, playing piano. Um, and I took acting lessons, and my sister was taking ballet. And I told my I told my mom I want to take ballet, and so I was already sensitive and getting made fun of and drawing too much attention. But she would drive me to ballet, ballet classes, buy my tights, and drove me to piano and drove me to like this acting camps and drama camps. And had I had a different mother, I don't think any of that would have happened because I would have been pressured to be like every other guy, you know, in our community at the time. So I'm just grateful that I had the mom that I had.
Yeah.
And every single thing I did, like when I did my first musical, she's like, I can see this on Broadway. Now I couldn't even see it on Broadway. I didn't think it was ready for Broadway. She's like, yeah, I can totally see this on Broadway. So I think even she had some challenges, mental health challenges. So um, both me and my sister noticed that it was hard for her to like show up in a certain way, but I saw the effort and the encouragement, and that to this day means the world to me because I wanted to do everything, um, and she encouraged me to do it and paid for some of it.
And it's so amazing to have your parents' support behind you 100% and rooting you on and cheering you on. Whereas most people, most of us who grew up in the entertainment business or wanting to get into the business,
Yeah,
our parents have their reservations. They're just like, okay, no, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna become a doctor, but you have to show them that this is something that you want to do. This is not for the faint-hearted. So if it's something you want to do, start off somewhere, show it to your parents, prove it to your parents, and look at you now. And we're gonna go down your list of accolades. Speaking of dreaming and manifesting, uh, you're
mm,
one the founding playwrights for Obie award-winning this the Fire This Time Festival,
yeah,
founding artistic director of A Mile in My Shoes Inc. and owner of Brown Liquor Music Inc.
yeah,
You also been featured in the Not for the Broadway Theater Festival, Horse Trade Theater Group, the Drafts Fest, All Out Arts Play Festival, New York Madness, the Fire This Time Festival, National Black Theaters Keep Soul Alive reading series, and 48 Hours in Harlem. And I love Harlem because when I think of Harlem, you cannot think of Harlem without thinking of the Harlem Renaissance, Langston Hughes,
yeah,
and Black Nativity. I mean, what happens to a dream? For all of these things we think of Langston Hughes and Black culture, and Harlem is the place for it.
yeah.
So as I'm reading your accolades and you're taking this all in, what's running through your mind? Because you got to look back at a certain point in your life and be like, wow, I've done all these things. I can't believe that this. What's running through your mind? Have you, as you're getting on set, writing or creating this, do you have any idea that all of your work, all of your accolades, people around the world would see it and love it and enjoy it?
Yeah, it's the first thing that comes to mind is how fun it was to be at the beginning stages of a lot of these things. The Fire This Time festival just exploded. We didn't know what was going to happen. Kelly Nicole Gerard is the founder, and she brought me on as a founding playwright producer. And I think that first year was Katori Hall, who wrote Mountaintop, Dominique Morisseau, Derek McFadder, Rada Blank, 40-year-old version. Uh, it was just like, I mean, these people are famous now, like every Black playwright that I can think of has come through that festival. And now some of them are writing for television and writing movies. Um, but in the beginning, it was just fun. We were just trying to do something, trying to create a platform for, Black and African American playwrights. And, it's gotten more sophisticated now. And the names have definitely gotten bigger, but, yeah, we were just having fun. And I think that's, why I came here in the first place, why I moved to New York. 48 Hours in Harlem again. It was just like being with my people, Black folks, creative folks, and playing. Is it's like that's what I dreamed of when I was, 7, 8 years old, moving to New York and doing what I did. And I feel like I sort of lucked out in a sense that I was introduced to this very vibrant, creative community in Harlem so early. And I have my friend Marcus Garley to thank because I met him when I was at NYU, and he introduced me to everybody. And those people I still am friends with and work with to this day.
And a special date for me, and I can remember it just like it was yesterday, was November 3rd, 2021. This was the day of the African American Black Film, yeah, the American Black Film Festival, which launched on this day, November 3rd, 2021. And B-Boy Blues, you've worked with Dylan Burnside, and Dylan Burnside was on the show Pose, for those of you who
Yeah,
do not know. And amazing cast. BET showcased
yeah,
this. It was about Black men, queer community. It's important that we continue to keep telling our stories as Black people, as a
very
collective.
true.
And this one also fan favorite narrative feature. So,
Mm.
did you have any idea that B-Boy Blues would be everywhere talked about? Because I mean, you had so many from Justice Smollett. Everybody was talking about this project. Nathan Hale Williams was one of my good colleagues as well too. You guys remember Nathan from BET's? Uh, I think it was my 2 cents as well. And I also had the honor of sitting with Keith Boykin from that show as well. You
Mm-hmm.
see him on screen; he's everywhere.
Yeah,
But B-Boy Blues, did you have any idea, sitting in the writing, the impact that this film, this classic, would have?
yeah. I just want to clarify. So I was involved with the play, but not the movie.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to be the composer for the film, but that didn't pan out. But a very well known singer songwriter became the composer for that. Um, Duran Bernard, who I love, he's like my favorite singer.
Oh,
But but I was again being strategic. I met James. So I read the book when I was a teenager, and me and my friends would pretend to be different characters, and we had like a unofficial book club um, for B-Boy Blues. I had to be 17, 18 years old, and it was life changing. So I invited James to my first concert that I produced as VIP strategically. I mean, I love James, but I wanted to get in his face because I knew that was going to be a movie one day. I'm like, I want to be involved in this movie, and that was, oh my God, 2010, 11, something like that.
yeah.
So I had been courting him for a long time, and when the play rolled around, he called me, said, "Do you want to be involved in this play? Like, we need music. Do you want to be the composer, sound designer?" And I said, definitely. And I want to do the movie. It's like, but it was like a crazy dream, just the way that it happened, because it was years after I first met him. And Stanley Bennett Clay, in rehearsal one day, he heard the music, one of the like love scenes, and he like came over and he like kissed me. He was like, "This is beautiful. Thank you so much." So that was the icing on the cake. But I actually ended up running sound and creating sound design for some of the
Mm,
performances in New York, which I had never run sound before. So that was scary but exhilarating. Yeah, so it was magic. The whole experience was magic, and just the fact that the audience, which was mostly Black, queer, SGL men, were seeing themselves, um, which is very powerful. I don't think people realize the deficit in uh, representations of who we are in media compared to like a white queer gay story. There's not a lot of them for us. So I think it's just very important, and I'm so glad it got turned into a movie. I thought the movie was beautifully done, and I'm glad it won, awards, and the play won awards too.
It was everywhere. When Nathan posted it, everyone was talking about it. And then you had Samson, you had Jesse, you had so many people who were involved, and
Yeah.
Duran. But it's important that we continue to highlight this in these times where they're trying to erase Black queer literature, Black queer everything, features, everything. And you said at a time, the only thing that I can think of, if you go back, and I remember having this conversation with J. Omar Tutler, who
Mm,
wrote Map. Um, we were talking about the representation of us in the Black queer community on television
mm.
and how there were certain shows. You had the DL Chronicles. I've had the honor of interviewing Damian T. Raven. I haven't gotten to Quincy
Mm.
Gosfield yet. I hadn't gotten to him
One day.
because I
One
know
day.
he's doing the Shy, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it will happen.
It will happen.
But we were talking
Manifest.
about the representation of us in these shows. Like when we see it currently, Pose was that
Yeah.
show. If you go
Yeah.
back in time, you had the DL Chronicles,
Noah's
you
Ark.
had Noah's
Mm.
Ark. Patrick Ian Polk is taking Elin Harris. Elin Harris is a staple within the Black queer community.
Yeah.
Like some of his books were ahead of their time. The Invisible Life, they were ahead of their time.
Mm.
And he's going to be adapting this into a film. And I was like, somebody's got to do it. And I think Patrick Ian Polk would be great. And I want to see more. I want to see more of us in media, more of us in television, telling our stories. And it was Craig the Writer Stewart, who I've also interviewed. I haven't gotten to T.S. Madison yet. That will be a dream one as
I
well
love
too. But they
it.
were also in the same exact thing that it's important for us in the Black queer community to keep telling our stories and letting the world know our contributions to the theater and so much more. Especially now at a time where Othello is taking off. Othello with Denzel Washington has taken off, and I wanted to know your thoughts on it. If you work it in Broadway, being an award-winning playwright and composer, what are your thoughts on the rise of Black Broadway? Because we're seeing it now more than ever.
I think we're seeing it now more than ever because we have Black producers.
Yes.
Um, and Candy Burris, hats off to her. My friend Ron Simons, who passed last year,
Um.
4 or 5 time Tony Award winning producer. He was slated to be the producer for The Last Gatekeeper um, before he passed. But he said as well, he's like, if you have more Black producers, you're going to have more Black shows um, because we are thinking about our people and our culture and visibility, like we said. But I think it's beautiful, and I think that the industry will be. How do I want to say this? I think the industry it'll change. I think there's pushback. I think there's been a narrative that Black people don't go to see Broadway shows. Um, One of the things that really struck me was the production of Streetcar Named Desire that
Oh yeah.
Debbie Allen
My favorite.
directed. It was amazing. I thought it was amazing. Um, but the place was packed and it was full of Black folks. So it was sort of like Black people go to see themselves on stage. If you put Black folks on stage, Black folks will be in the seats.
Yes.
Yeah. So and we have a vibrant theater community in New York. It's very diverse, but things are changing, and I think some people that want to hold on to the way things were are scared. I've had many conversations about theaters that don't want to give up their old white patronage and supporters and audience. It's like you have to create something for a more diverse audience because you're going to lose money. These people are dying. They're like, not to offend anyone, but you have to think younger audience. You have to think more
Yep.
diverse audience, and that happens when you put diverse uh, cast on stage. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you've got Felicia Rashad, you've got Latanya Richardson and Samuel Jackson. They're also involved in theater as well too. And
yeah,
so many others that are coming out here. Um, what's the other one? August J. Wilson's The Piano
yeah.
Lesson, which was crazy. A lot of people were talking about it. Candy was also involved in that one. You
You
had
have
so
LaShawn,
many people came to
LaShawn.
see it. I'm sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, you have LaShawn's who's starting to produce and direct.
Yeah.
Um, who else was I just thinking of? Um, Tanya Pinkins, who's starting to produce and direct. So a lot of the people that have been in the industry are starting to create avenues for other people, which I think is beautiful. Passing the torch down, the fire this time, fire next time.
Yes. And speaking of telling stories, you've published your autobiographical album, Brown Liquor and Blistall. So tell us a little bit about the name. How did you come up with the name of your autobiographical album and stories? Because again, we as Black queer people, we have to continue to keep sharing our stories. So for you, how did you come up with the name and the concept for
Yeah, I'll try to do this in a concise way because it's a long story. But I was raised in the hood, in a party atmosphere. Everyone drank. They were alcoholics, to be honest. They were alcoholics. Drank, smoked, but they also sang.
it?
Four-part harmony, no training. They just could do it, and that's how my ear was trained. Just growing up listening to that. But in the '80s, everyone got saved. Like there was televangelists everywhere. Like everyone got saved, and my uncle was the first, and then he went through the family saving everyone. So then everyone we were, you know, there was a huge shift. My mom church hopped, religion hopped, so we were everything. We were Seventh-day Adventist, uh, Baptist, Church of God in Christ, non-denominational, Lutheran, Wisconsin Synod, and Missouri Synod. It was I don't know what she was searching for, but I had a lot of experiences with a lot of different religions and spiritual expressions. So uh, the last church that I actually got ordained in at I think I was 20 when I got ordained um, was a church that was started in Milwaukee. The bishop was Carlton Pearson, who was in Tulsa, um, and it was horrible. I was on the verge of coming out, and when I joined that church, I got scared right back into the closet, and ended up getting ordained and was the minister of music for 6 or 7 years. But I was also in the closet, and hearing that you're going to hell and like, this is perversion, and God didn't mean for this to happen, and just believing that you're not supposed to exist, and also knowing that you can't change yourself. Um, I was suicidal by the end of my ministry, and thankfully, and I think this is divine timing, our bishop Carlton Pearson started to preach inclusion or universalism, which undid all of that um, old, tired rhetoric and theology. And my pastors had no idea what to do because they had never heard of anyone accepting queer people or saying that there isn't a hell or saying that you're already saved. So that completely changed my life. In addition to going to Catholic college where they were teaching me about the Bible from a very scholarly standpoint. So it's not that these, I was taught that these individuals in the Bible were not necessarily historical figures, but um, figures that are teaching us lessons about life. And that also blew my mind because I just thought everything in the Bible was factual and the world was created in 6 days and Noah was real. And, that just undid all of that. So I couldn't sit in services and pretend to believe what they were preaching anymore. So I just told them I'm leaving. I said I'm leaving. I'd rather follow where the bishop is going. Bishop Carlton Pearson became friends with Bishop Yvette Flunder, who was already an out lesbian bishop who had a huge ministry catering to people with HIV and AIDS and all kinds of things. So I ended up moving to New York, going to NYU. Um, I ended up playing for a church called Rehoboth that merged with the Rivers at Rivers of Living Water. Bishop Yvette Flunder became the bishop of that church, strangely enough. Um, and then I ended up serving in that church, which is just synergy. I didn't pursue any of that. It just happened. Um, So yeah, that that just that change from the bishop changing his theology literally saved my life, because I would not be here. I guarantee you, I would not be here. I didn't know how I was going to end my life, but I would have. It would have happened.
And we're
Um,
glad you're still here. Start with Sean says, good, you are still alive and pressing forward, because if you were not here, we wouldn't have B-Boy Blues. We wouldn't have your contributions to the arts that we see today. And I'm going to go back for a minute, because I just recently had a conversation with my colleague Bubs the God about that. He was talking about how it's a lot of black men that are in the queer community who are saying, I'm no longer gay, they or what they call the ex-gay
mhm,
movement. Organized religion has definitely caused a lot of trauma within the black queer community, because for all of us growing up, I'm in South Carolina.
mm,
So that the South, deep down in the South, shouting, tongue talking, devil stomping, that is what we do. Hand clapping, ladies with their big hats and suits and churches, everything. That was what I was taught growing up. But my mother now has granted us all the freedom. Growing up, she's allowed us to have the freedom to worship as we please. So I haven't really delved too deep into religion, but I can say the organized religion has definitely caused a lot of trauma within our community, the black community, because for so long, like you said, the church has taught us. And I can go back a few weeks on this platform, and I had an interview with Bryce LP, who is an artist, and he said he got his start in the church, and how the church judged him, prosecuted him. And I told him, I said, you remind me so much of a gospel singer, and he's extremely talented. And they did the same thing to him. They shunned him for his sexuality and basically disowned him, because I think he grew up in the church as B Slade.
mm,
B Slade
mm,
came,
mm.
and it was a whole big deal from the church. It's like, oh my God, this is an abomination. You're going to hell, this, that, and the third. That's what they put at us whenever we are in the queer community. And it's
Yeah,
just like, God said, pass judgment on no one. We should pass judgment on no one. We all have our flaws. And that's what makes us so unique, is that we all have our flaws. The only person who is perfect is him. So you can't cast a stone at the next person. And it's a lot of that going on in the black churches. So that's why we see a lot of black queer people leaving the churches and starting their own, going to churches where there are more affirming of us, as well as not so passing the judgment, saying you shouldn't be doing this, you're going to hell, it's an abomination. Well, I caught you scratching lottery tickets last week, so how you gonna tell me what I'm doing is a sin, but what you're not doing, because they point out homosexuality, they point out queer, they point out this.
mm,
But to add on to that, your story is powerful, because a lot of queer people, including myself, being a part of the T community, the trans community, I
mm.
have experienced that too, coming into my own. Why don't you get a girlfriend? Why don't you do this? These are things that I have experienced growing up, being told, God doesn't approve of this.
Yeah,
I remember I was in the store, Rite Aid, one day, and there was this woman and her husband from the church that was real young, and they were saying, you shouldn't be looking at that. It was a TCB relaxer box, y'all, and I wanted to do hair, and she said, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be looking at this. It's just a box, lady. Like, I mean,
yeah, and you shouldn't be bothering me. Go do. They'll take care of what you got to take care of. But yeah, the album is basically me in my therapy session, because my therapist is sort of like like going through the songs. You hear some of my therapy sessions, and it's sort of like the process of me undoing all of that um, rhetoric and all of the things I had been taught, and like coming into my own and being free, being myself. Um, I had a friend who was actually in the many ex-gay ministries trying to, and he was also, so he was on a bridge about to jump, um, but they could not find any actually um, straight men or gay men who had actually changed, because you can't change. So that's why the whole ex-gay ministry collapsed. There was no ministry; it was all a facade. Um, so I think the more people are educated about human sexuality, um, the more that this will change. But a lot of people just want to believe what they believe. um, and it's unfortunate, but hopefully there'll be a change from people, you know, feeling that they need to control other people's sexuality and tell people how to live. Um, I always tell people people say it's unnatural. I'm like, in every species of animal on the planet, there is homosexuality and transsexuality, and even in our mythology and different religions, there's non-binary and gender non-conforming. It's sort of like this has been around for a long time before the world was colonized, before Christianity was introduced to the world, and you can't erase that. You can't erase that history.
I think that everyone needs to go and listen to your autobiographical album because it's a lot of people, a lot of queer youth that are growing up and they're discovering themselves and they're being shunned back into the closet, being from their parents or just society telling them, no, it's wrong. Living in your truth is so much better than living in a lie.
Yeah.
And I must say, at 31 years old right now, I am the happiest I've ever been in my entire life because before I was struggling and I was insecure to come into my own, but coming out to my mother, coming into my own. She said, you're my baby and I could love you no less.
Yeah.
You're my child. I had you. You are a vessel of me. You are a part of me.
Mm.
So to have the support of your parent is the most beautiful thing in the world. There are some family members who don't get it to anyone who is coming out or struggling to come out to their family members. But just know that there are people out here. And I'm thankful for the likes of theater and ballroom culture
Mm.
because they showcase family, they showcase unity, they showcase diversity that everyone comes from a different walk of life. We're not the same. The world is not just going to be one sheet. It should be a quilt. And each patch should be different in that quilt. So to anybody who is coming out or struggling to come out, live authentically. And I told my colleague Bubs to God this because he did a live on X Gays and the X Gay movement. And there were these two men. I said, Bubs, you got to be kidding me. These men, and I allow me to tap into my inner Millie Jackson spirit and be politically incorrect for a minute.
They may not know about Millie.
I'm just going to say it. Once addicted to the sausage, always addicted to the sausage. You love it, honey.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way you one day I like men and then I'm gonna just go back to liking. I think I've changed because I was watching this documentary and these men, these black queer men, were sitting around saying, well, the pastor walked up to him and confronted him about his sexuality. And he said, until you get right, and it's out of you, you can't play in the band because it's always queer people. We start off in the church. We're playing the keyboards. We're the organists. We're doing this. We're doing all the things behind the scenes, keeping things in order. And so his pastor told him, well, hey, until you do this, you can't play in the band.
Yeah.
And then he came back the next day and told him, like, I think it's out of me. And he was like, no, I think you need to take some cases or courses, something he said to him. And I'm just like,
But it's
is
for
this what it takes? You want to beat the sexuality out of somebody.
yeah, but it's also if you're straight, you have absolutely no idea what a queer person or a gay person is going through,
Right.
or how that feels, or how long they felt that way. Um, and most, not well, I'm gonna just say it. I feel like, in my experience, most of the people that were at the forefront of ushering in the spirit of God, that was their responsibility. Where it was the choir director or the organist, or they were queer people, and that's part of our legacy. The before the world was colonized, before Christianity was introduced, queer folks around the world were charged with the spiritual health and well-being of the community. So the black church is trying to get rid of something that is actually very natural for us and part of our legacy. Um, try to get rid of all the try to get rid of all the gay or queer folk in your band and church, and see how much faster the church will dwindle. The church is already dwindling. Um, yeah, it's
It's
craziness.
It's a new dawn. It's a new awakening. People are waking up. People in our community, the queer community, are waking up and saying, I'm not going to sit here and be your punching bag or your target anymore, because we sit there and we've seen Kim Burrell and so many others spew the homophobia towards us, spew the transphobia, all of these things. Why are you doing this? And we're sitting there in the front row taking this all in. It's traumatizing to me.
Yeah,
So a lot of people are starting to walk away from that and say, I would rather go to some place where I'm affirmed for who I am.
yeah,
I am happy. I am safe. I'm in a safe space. I don't want to go to this church anymore because I don't feel welcome.
mhm,
And whereas you've got ballroom culture, you've got theater and Broadway, who are becoming more welcoming to us, who are more welcome to us. We have to find our escape and our getaway. That's what it's about.
yeah. And as you probably know, ballroom became church for a lot of folks
Oh,
that got kicked out of church or didn't feel comfortable in church. So it saved a lot of lives. The club was a church for a lot of people. Yeah.
absolutely.
I think about
Absolutely.
Donnie McClurkin also, who he's not an ex-gay, but this
Woo!
is
That,
his. And if you know what I know, you know what I know.
we don't.
But it's sort of like my past. I came out to my pastors, and they tried to use Donnie McClurkin, like, but Donnie McClurkin, and I just started laughing. I'm like, if you knew the mess that is behind this facade. But and I just asked my pastor, I'm like, how long do you think I'm supposed to not have sex and to struggle and to pretend?
Right.
And she said, till Jesus come. And I said, and that's why people are leaving.
And you mentioned Donnie McClurkin. That's a whole thing that people have been talking about. Like, he's a part of the ex-gay movement. If you type it in, it's everywhere. He's a part of the ex. I feel I feel heartbroken for him, because it's hard not to be able to walk in your light, live in your truth,
Hmm.
because you're going by that book, the organized religion, for so long. It's been beaten into all of
Hmm.
us, and it's just like certain things we have to unlearn. And for him, until he unlearns, if he unlearns it, he'll be so much better. But if you keep saying, I've done this, I'm not a part of it anymore, I'm not a part of it anymore,
But
you
you
keep persisting.
are.
Yeah, you are. Own it.
And I
It is
think
it's time
I
to own
want.
it. People don't care.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. I'm sorry. I did feel sorry for him for many years, but then at a certain point, it's like you can make a decision to live in the truth that you know, which is very scary. And most people don't do it. Most people don't live in their truth because they're afraid of what other people will say. But if you're preaching freedom and the joy that comes with being free, then you be free, like be actually free. You know, my two
Absolutely.
cents.
Authenticity is key as far as your sexuality goes. To anybody, don't hide it. Own who you are authentically. And a lot of people hide their sexuality for safety reasons, because there have been so many attacks on us in the queer community,
Hmm.
especially mainly on my side, the trans community, on my side, as well as on the queer side. For queer black men will be an attack authentically for just being who they are. I mean, it was a black queer man by the name of O'Shea Sibley who lost his life just for dancing. And it
Hmm.
goes to show you that even if we try to celebrate ourselves, find joy in some sort of way, there's always some way that they try to bring a dark cloud and make us feel bad about it. We're no longer going back in a closet. What is a closet? And my colleague Bubs and I, and he just recently said that in one of his lives. He said, closet, it's time for y'all to break those doors down. Everybody is out and free. And when you're out and free, James Baldwin has a quote that talks about living a secret life. And that quote is prevalent to everything that we're seeing right now with this ex-gay movement starting to emerge from queer black men saying, I don't want to. You don't let fear stop you from walking in your light.
Yeah.
Because if you have to live in a lie every single day, you're going to have to tell another lie to cover up that lie. You're going to have to tell another lie to cover up that lie. And I tell people this all the time: live life through fire. It is so much beauty in walking into your light and in your truth. And
Yeah, Bishop.
it's important that people, the queer youth, understand that as well too, so they don't feel discouraged not to come out.
Yeah, Bishop Flunder always says that closets are for coats, pans, and canned peas,
That's right.
not to hide in. You know.
Own it. Own it. Own who you are. Own your sexuality.
Mhm.
Own being a part of the queer community. Own it authentically. And people shouldn't judge. I believe that people shouldn't judge because we all have skeletons in our closet. We all have things that we're fearful about or we've done that we totally have regret in our life.
Yeah.
So don't pass judgment on the next person and judge them for being themselves authentically. If they want to wear a purple leotard, let them do what they do. Let them own who they are. It's called pride for a reason.
Yeah.
Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Ramirez, this is what they fought for
Yeah.
pride.
Yeah.
Pride is for us to be authentically who we are. And
Yeah.
there's so much beauty in the pride because it's like when you walk into a candy store, you see all sorts of candy you've never even seen before. There's candy that comes, I've seen people do it on their channels, their YouTube channels, where they eat all sorts of foreign candy from other countries. And it's just like, wow. So you get exposed to new tastes of different things. And that's what the queer community is like. It's so much of us. We're not a monolith. So don't pass judgment on us and judge us for being ourselves authentically because there's so much beauty in being and who you truly divinely are. You are perfect. You are unique. And I want people to know that.
Yeah. 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 And there's a lot to be proud of because we have a long history of being transformative people. Like if there were never any gay or queer or trans or SGL folk, um, just say goodbye to most of the arts, say goodbye to most of fashion. Churches would be there would be three churches and one gospel song. It's like we're there's a gift. It's like if people could go past even acceptance and realize that it's a gift to be queer and we are special. Even another queer person challenged me on that, and I'm like, look at our history. How can you say that we're not fabulous and amazing? Sort of
From
like
fashion to music to the arts, we have
spirituality.
contributed so much to it.
Mhm.
So you can't erase that. And it goes all the way back in time. The trans performer by the name of Jackie
Oh yeah,
Shane. Now
yeah,
we know about Laverne Cox. Her story is not told. We know about Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox has done Broadway. She's done everything. But if you like Laverne, you'll love Jackie
yeah.
Shane. Jackie Shane was right on her way. She crawled so that we could have the Laverne Coxes of the world, so that we can have the Amaya Scotts, the T.S. Madison. This woman crawled, literally. Her and Marsha P. Johnson, they both crawled so that women like myself, T.S. Madison, and so many others could have the space here to be seen. Because at a
Hmm.
time, especially at a time where it was racism, everything was
Hmm.
segregated. And they showed video clips of her actually going to her performances and how difficult it was at that time for her. So it's important we continue to highlight and shine a light, and not just on Pride Month, but 365 days of the year, because we are also Black as well too. And I can't forget my girl Hope Giselle, who's out here as well too. So I mean, it goes to show you, our legacy is here, the work is being done, and our existence is valid. And people are opening their eyes and seeing it. They're becoming more accepting. And the way to love more is to accept more. And that would be advice that I would give to anybody who's struggling coming into their own, who's figuring out themselves, because we've all had to figure out ourselves, and that can be scary.
Hmm.
It can be challenging. Like, is there something wrong with you? No, it's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect just the way you are. So love it, embrace
Yeah,
it.
and I take my hat off to you because, if I had met someone like you, when I was a teenager, I would be even further along. It's important to be. It's important to have um, models for how to be free. You know, so we are that hopefully for others who are not yet free. But
And
yeah,
it's
hats off to you for people don't realize how hard it is to come out to anyone, but definitely your parents.
especially a God-fearing
Yeah.
mother. My mother, my mother will recite those Bible verses in a heartbeat to you, but she doesn't judge people. And
Mm-hmm.
I educate her on pronouns and the queer community and what it means to be trans. All of these things I have had to have that conversation with my mother, and she gets it.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting it slowly but surely, and she's just like, I forget, I'm sorry, but she's not transphobic. She's none of that. My mother has so much love in her heart. My family is accepting. There are some family members, and I asked my mother this question. I said, "Do you think the family in New York or wherever knows about me?" And she's like, "Child, they know about you. They been knew about you
Yeah.
since you was young. Something was different about you." But as you come into your own, people are just like, "It's okay. We love you. We won't accept you any less. We love you just the way you are." And that's the answer that people need. Love on your queer children. Love on them and affirm them. And that's what we need in these times more than ever, because so many people have been put out of their homes just for being gay. Youth mainly have been put out of their homes, disowned from their
Yeah.
parents, and lost communication with their parents alone. Remember the most controversial, Angela Stanton and her daughter, and how she did not affirm her daughter to
Mm-hmm.
what she wanted to be called, and how it took a complete 360 and turn. And now they've bonded. They have a relationship. So it's all about Tammy Roman, basketball wise. Her daughter came out as bisexual, and she's like, it's a process for me. A lot of parents feel that way. It's a process for coming out. Yeah, it's scary because you don't know how your parents going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But you sit down and you have the conversation, educate to the individuals that's coming out. And don't force someone out of a closet. Don't out someone. That's dangerous. Don't do that. I would not recommend you do that. But sit down and have the conversation with your parents and let them know. They can either accept you and affirm you and love you. And if they don't, they have to work on some things. It's not a you problem, it's a them problem. They have to look in that mirror and take that on and, like, okay, I'm wrong. I am wrong. And I think that's also the case with Dwayne Wade
Yes.
and his daughter Zaya. A lot of people wanted that. They wanted him to disown her, as we all have experienced in the queer community, being disowned and shunned for being who we are. And I was watching Pose. If you look at Dominique T. Jackson's character on the show, she got put out on the
Mm-hmm.
show. Electra, her character was Electra. And we've seen how she got her start to where she's at. She packed her things and she left because her family put her out just for being who she is. So we need more and more of that. People are being open and affirming. But
Yeah.
even Marlon Wayans, that's another one. Uh, People were upset at him for accepting his trans son, and it's just like, what's wrong with a parent loving and affirming their child and using the correct pronouns for them? What is so wrong about that? What is so wrong about a parent owning and loving who their child has become into their own? J Lo has a kid who's non-binary, so it's time for us as people, as individuals, to start seeing the humanity in the youth out here. And that would be my advice to anybody else as well too. That would make an awesome allyship. If you can affirm and accept your child, there's other children out here who don't have parents who are so affirming. I
Yeah.
say, go ahead, go ahead and love on those children too. They need love. Point them in the direction of resources they need it. Again, and this is where ballroom culture comes in, because it's like a family. You have the mother of the house, you have the father of the house, and then the other members of the house as well
Mm-hmm.
too. So ballroom culture as well as theater culture comes into it, because it's like you have that union, that family. Whereas if you don't have it at home, you can always rely on one of them and keep in touch with them. So form community to anybody who's struggling and coming out. And Germano, again, I want to salute you. You're thanking me, but I want to salute you for creating something, because this is something I've been wanting to touch on, which is the Black church and the LGBTQ community, where we're seeing pastors beat on us on a daily on the pulpits, like, oh, your pants too tight. I'm not even gonna get into it.
Yeah, preachers preach about what they have problems with.
Yes. And then come out to find out that it's their own insecurities you're projecting onto other people.
Hmm.
Your own hatred that you're projecting onto other people because they're walking in their light and you're not. What good does it do you to project your insecurities and anger on and hatred onto me when you can be free too? Be yourself. Not saying
Yeah,
some of the pastors, every one of them are part of the queer community. No, not everyone. But if you are having thoughts about your sexuality, sit down and take the time to reevaluate that. If you're struggling, if that's something that you do, because the organized religion has told us for so long that it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, you're going to hell, you're going to hell.
yeah,
No,
and tread lightly because every day somebody gets exposed. So
Eddie Long ring a bell, y'all. Y'all, if you know, you know.
yeah, and this
So, and
I
he
wrote
was
this.
one of
I
the
wrote my
worst.
play Anointed a few years right before Eddie Long. Um, Anointed is about closeted preachers, but and then the Eddie Long thing happened, and people in that church were still in denial. There's probably still people from that church that are in denial. It's like, okay, what can you say at this point? Okay,
We
it's a choice.
seen the photos, honey. What more proof do y'all need to see? Y'all still don't believe? We've seen the photos of him. He wasn't going to the gym to lift some weights, honey. We've seen the photos. He was lifting something else,
Yeah,
but he wasn't going to the gym for that.
yeah.
So
What are you
I'll
gonna
leave it
do?
there. But this is such a great conversation, and I hope you all take away from this. So, Germino, what would you tell to the next, before we get to our games and wrap, what would you tell the next generation that is coming up following in your footsteps that want to be composers, that want to play right, who are discovering themselves and coming into their own?
I would say big picture, follow your dreams.
Mm.
I would say in the minute detail of it, write your dreams down. Um, I would say find mentors that are doing what you want to do, people that are way beyond you, that aren't going to compete with you, that literally have a lot of wisdom to give. Um, shadow, I mean, follow people around. Ask if you can sit into rehearsals. Ask if you can shadow a screenwriter or a conductor or whatever you want to do. Just get into the environment, volunteer, intern, get into the industry because there's lots of opportunity. But don't be afraid to jump in and make sure you remind yourself of why you're doing it, because it's fun when you start. And then the business part of it starts, and then, it's not as fun. I told her I was working with Harriet Foy on her. She has another single coming out soon.
Yeah.
So we're working on that single. I'm trying to time it around the whenever P Valley drops, but she was just shocked. She's like, "Well, damn, the business part is almost more than the music part." I'm like, "Yeah, that's just the creative part is the fun part, but now you got to sign all these forms and register all this stuff." So just stay motivated and keep yourself surrounded by people that genuinely believe in you and want you to succeed, because there's always some people that don't. Use your intuition and stick with the people that do.
And you also have some music out as well too. You talk about writing your list of goals. The single is called Out Loud, and you have vocals by Crystal Monet Hall. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your new single out before I'm stalling. So before we get to the turn the table segment,
That's
but
fine.
tell us about your new single.
Yeah, me and Krista have been collaborating for almost 20 years. I found her on MySpace. If people probably don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wrote this song for my album Brown Liquor and Blessed Oil, but I wanted to experiment with like more of a pop sound. And she has such an incredible voice. You could literally put it in any genre. And I asked her, can I release this song? And she said, yeah, she loved it. And it really hit home for her, the narrative of living out loud. Um, And then I have 9/11, which was Harriet Foy's, or co-collaborated, co-wrote, and co-produced that album, which I love. It was really fun to do that. She's like a walking encyclopedia of house music. She knows everything of it. And that's what she wants to do. I said maybe we should experiment. She's like, no, no, boo. We could do house music. It has to be like get the kids on the floor. I'm like, okay, here, do the house. Well, she's a lot of fun to work with. I love working with her. So I can't wait for everyone to hear. It's called "Be What You Love." It's a new single, which hopefully will come out late in May.
All right, next month. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And single right now is called Out Loud. Make sure you guys check it out. The next one will be dropping in May. Be What You Love. Please go and check that one out as well too. And also check out Germano's autobiographical album. Again, this could help save people's lives. Like you said, finding yourself.
Yeah.
And someone said that's in the comments. We're glad that you are still here with us to tell your story because it can inspire someone else who is finding out who they are and discovering who they are and struggling with that because there's a lot of queer youth who struggle with coming out to their parents.
Yeah.
And it can be scary. It's scary because you don't know. It can be good or it can be a different outcome. But 9 times out of 10, I pray that it turns out good because you want to love and accept. You want to love and accept. That is the key. Love and acceptance is key, and it goes a long way. So
Yeah.
you build a healthy relationship off of that. But let's get to a lighter note here because Miss Stevie is about to get put in the hot seat.
Well,
So
no, I wanted to, Germano.
Germano
Yeah.
is about to
You
go
said it the
ahead.
first time.
Yes. Germano is about to put me in the hot seat. Fashion Dolls. We are going to do something called Turn the Tables. It's been a minute since I did it Tuesday with LaTroy, but it's been a minute since we brought back the game. So Germano is going to ask me some questions, as many as he wants. Life, fashion, gold, relationship, whatever he wants to know. And for my newest viewers out here, you get to know a little bit about me through his questioning. All right? So take it away, Germano.
How would you describe your personal style?
Ooh, I would say I would say sexy, classy, elegant. I like to stand out. There's never a dull moment with me. And this is all again I told Stephanie yesterday. I said I'm 5'7" girl. So even the shortest, we have to find our style in some sort of way. Because I'm not a like Kate Moss or Naomi Campbell where they're 6 foot. No, I'm 5'7". So all of the 5'7" girl proportions. So I would describe it as sexy, elegant, classy, effortless, couture. Because I love to step outside of the box. I don't like to dress like the everyday person.
Mhm.
Even though I do in my downtime, I'll put on a little romper or a t-shirt and some shorts when I'm going out or whatever. But for the show, it's glam to the nine.
Okay. How many do I get?
As many as you want.
Okay. Who was your first love?
My first love. Can it be
Mm,
a crush or someone that I dated in my life?
I think the younger the better. Like the first person that you were like, oh my God, what are these feelings? What is
Wow.
this? The infatuation, you know?
It was this guy by the name of Timothy. And we locked eyes. We met at a conference because at the time I was in this program where it was like prepping you for college and getting you your experience and everything. And it was this guy named Timothy. And he was taller than me. He had glasses and everything. And he had a low cut fade. And we just chatted it up from there. We sat together because it was at Myrtle Beach. We went to this conference, Wanda Hendricks Bellamy conference. And we met there. And we just couldn't stay away from each other. So he was my first love. We kept in touch after.
Good, good. What is your most scary dream? What is the dream that actually scares you a bit?
A dream that scares me a little bit. I would have to say losing, feeling defeated, feeling empty, losing, literally losing everything. Because just as an instant, we think of everything that we have today. And a prime example of that would be the California wildfires.
Mm,
Like that took everybody for a loop. everybody lost everything, and that's just like my heart ripped out of my chest because I can't imagine losing. Not just that, but losing family members, losing everything, and having to rebuild from square one. So that will be a fear of mine. Just losing.
So let me rephrase it. So like a dream that you want to pursue
Oh,
that is so
okay.
big that it scares you.
Mm, a dream that I would love to pursue. I would love to have Style by Stevie on national television, but I would do it on my own terms. And like my girl T.S. Madison says, it would have to be everybody black behind the scenes producing. So I might tap you too, Germano. Uh, I want everybody black. So the dream is big. It scares me. But when you're doing national television, it's a completely different thing because you got your prompter, everything there. And if something happens in real time, the audience will catch on to it. That's what I love about Broadway because when you go and you see the show in person, the audience now will talk back to the characters. They've now got it to that point where they will talk back and they will let the characters know. So
Mm.
being on national television will be a fear of mine because you got so many people watching you. It's just like, okay, don't fumble, don't mess it up. Doing live is one thing. People can go back and watch it. But if you're doing it in real time, that would be a fear. That would be something I would love.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, and that's I could definitely understand the fear. Like
Yes.
million, they tell you millions of people are watching you right now. Um, yeah. So I think, what would you tell? What's a good age? What would you tell 10-year-old you now?
I would tell myself at 10 years old, hang in there. Hang in there. It's only up from here. It's going to be rough. You're going to have your struggles. You're going to have your trials and your tribulations, but you're going to make it. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be hurdles. It won't be easy. That journey is not easy for any of us. So that's something that I would tell my 10-year-old self. Hang in there. You're going to get through it. It may seem like it's an obstacle blocking you in your way today, but when you continue to fight, use your voice, stand up for yourself and others, you'll see those obstacles being moved to the side. That's what I would tell my 10-year-old
Yeah,
self.
I'm gonna end with that. That was perfect.
And we always think about what would we tell our younger self in time. I've always gone back and looked at photos and I would talk to the photos like, man, I was a certain age in this photo, childhood pics. And I say, man, look how far I've come now. Look how far
Mm,
I've come now. And a lot of people say this, I don't look like what I've been through. I look at a photo and I can tell something was going on. What was I thinking? You try to think about your emotions. What was your thinking when you took this photo? Or what emotion were you feeling during this
yeah.
time? And I could tell you right then and there. So a lot of people, I would advise you to go back and look in your past. Look at your past photos and see, okay, where I my most happiest here at this point in my life or this new chapter. Do you see the difference? Compare from then to now. And I always do that. I always go back to my past. And in order to get to your future, you sometimes have to go back and look at your past memories, the fun memories now. But going back to the bad ones too, it won't be easy, but it's all about self-preservation and accountability. So,
Mm, yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
so that's what I would tell my younger self. But before we let you go, Germano,
Mhm.
mm, what gems would you tell your younger self? And what gems would you tell people that are watching us right now? People who are saying, okay, I'm discovering myself. I'm discovering bits and pieces about myself.
I think I would tell younger me, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
I would also tell younger me, don't believe everything you think. Um, I think that I still uh, create stories that I have to dismiss because your brain is not always your friend. It'll create stories to protect you. Um, but don't believe everything that you think. I would say put yourself first. I'm very generous, very giving, and sometimes my what I wanted would come second. Um, but people will understand. People understand. You know, if you put yourself first, that is the most healthy way to be. Actually, um, yeah, those are the things that I would say. Gems for other people, I would probably say those same things. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't believe everything you think. Put yourself first. Save your money. Be consistent. Um, be disciplined in whatever you want to do. Dream big. Surround yourself with community, people that love you, and get rid of people that don't. There's no reason for them to be there. It's just a waste of time. There's plenty of people that love you. Just concentrate on them.
And I would close today's show with today's final thought, which comes from F. Scott Fitzgerald. And he says, never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat. And that pertains to fear.
Mm.
And we covered a lot of fear in this interview, whether it may be coming from the Black church, organized religion, fear of what people will think of me, fear of failure, fear of flying, all of these different fears. Tackle it head on.
Mm.
And trust, it may be scary in the beginning, but tackle it head on. Tackle it head on. We all have to continue to fight and everything that sets us all free. Because if you do not fight for your happiness, do not fight for your freedoms, do not fight for everything that makes you your own unique individual self, you will lose who you are. And
Mm. Yes.
that would be my advice to anybody out here coming into their own, finding out who they are, discovering themselves, because each and every day for one of us, every one of us is a journey. Each and every day for us is a journey. It's a new start. We wake up in the morning and we're just like, what do I want to accomplish this day? What do I want to work on this day? And a lot of us sit back and reflect and think it's good to practice the art of being still and in the present, in the moment. It is a good feeling, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I pray before every interview. And this interview, God worked his magic. He did his favor. He did his thing. And I believe it. I put firm in it. And it's the power of
Yeah.
manifestation, of making things come true. So that's what I believe you guys with Fashion Dolls. And Germino, let everyone know where they can follow you and check you out. The single is called Out Loud, Fashion Dolls. Please go and check it out.
Thank you. You can find me on IG, Toussaint for you, Toussaint, the number 4, and the letter U. Um, my website is germanotoussaint.com. Yeah, so all my social is there. So yeah, look me up.
And I would love to have you back on. This conversation was so refreshing. And I hope it's refreshing to all of you as well, too. I know we might seem like we're going through a dark period of discovering ourselves, a dark period of finding out who we are, a dark period of what will happen next, what will happen next, what's going to come next. I tell you what's going to come next. You'll live. You'll live to see another day. You'll live to continue to grow. You will live to continue to be the best version of yourself authentically. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to be your best individual self. Individuality is beautiful and it is divine. And it is what's also that sets us aside from other people as well, too. Because wouldn't it be tiring to live in a world where everyone is like a minion? Y'all seen the Minions film? Like we would all be the
Yeah,
same. Like like, give me something different. When God created this world, he said, okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this here, a little bit of this here. So that's what makes us all perfect and in his image, is that we are all divinely unique and different. So
right.
remember that, Fashion Dolls. And joining me tomorrow, we have Q Howard. So make sure you guys tune in. I love you all. And Germinal, I had such an amazing time. We got to do this again.
We will. We will. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
You You're so welcome. You guys take care. And this interview will be uploaded to Style by Stevie Daytime. Make sure you guys head on over and subscribe. Again, remember, we are on the road to 800 shows, and we will get there. So thank you all so much, and I will see you tomorrow, next time. Take care.